Dirt Everyday Extras go live every weekday on Motor Trend On Demand. Here's an example of an episode you missed last week. This Dirt Everyday Extra, let's talk about building your 4x4. How do you decide the right way to build the vehicle that you own or the vehicle that you want to own? Part of that starts with what type of four-wheeling do you want to do? And part of that comes back to where do you live and what type of four-wheeling is nearby. For example, this is my cameraman's S10 truck here. It's a great truck for everyday use, and he does a lot of desert exploring. Plus, he goes out to the desert and shoots videos where the guys are racing. So he needed a truck that could go off-road in the desert, but also haul all his gear. So probably the things that are more important to him are good tires, good shocks, and then a shell on the back to hold all his gear and keep it safe. Plus, if he's out there in the desert and he wants to camp out, he can camp out in the back of the thing. It's not a huge truck, but he probably doesn't need a huge truck. If you are living where there's a lot of mud, you're going to want a really big aggressive tire. These tires, even though they're called BF Goodrich all-terrains, the one terrain that they probably are not the best in is mud, and BFG has a mud terrain tire, which is better in mud. And there's lots of companies that offer bigger aggressive mud tires. Everybody from Super Swamper, Nitto, BFG, Toyo, Pitbull, all of the big tire companies have aggressive tires. Now, if you're going to put that type of tire on this truck, you have to think about a lift kit. Do you want a lift kit that raises the body off the frame? Do you want a lift kit that uses the suspension and modifies it? Or do you want to completely start over and put big, beefy, solid axles under this thing where you're cutting and welding and fabricating so that you can run really big tires? Those are all the choices that you have to make depending on your situation of what the terrain is near you and how much your budget is on your vehicle. With a stock vehicle to go four-wheeling and exploring, one of the first upgrades that I always recommend is a winch. The reason why is because if you have a winch, you can go four-wheeling and get lost, get stuck, get yourself out of being stuck, and hopefully make it home safely. So a winch is a good first upgrade. Other people like an aggressive tire or a lift kit. I kind of steer away from those. Leave the vehicle as stock as you can for now and learn how to drive it. But then a nice winch up front is a good opportunity to make the vehicle more capable. And at the end of the day, it should be able to get you out of what you get into and get you home. Other upgrades you need to consider is who offers upgrades for the vehicle that you're looking at. Say you're looking at some sort of really obscure Russian UAZ 4x4 that you found on Hemmings Motor News, and you're like, this is such a cool, unusual vehicle. Well, guess what? You're probably not going to find anything for it here in America. If you're in Russia, maybe they have parts for UAZ vehicles everywhere. But here in America, a nice Chevrolet, Ford, Toyota, Jeep, all of those vehicles that have a huge aftermarket support, you will find a lot of parts for. So that's why when you're looking at your first 4x4, maybe steer away from the really obscure and steer into something that's pretty common and has a lot of aftermarket support. Plus, you'll find other people that have the same vehicle, and you'll say, oh, what suspension are you running? What are those off-road lights? How do you like those tires? And those guys will become your friends, and you'll kind of bounce ideas off of each other and learn, all right, I like how his truck works off-road. I want a rear locking differential in mine. Or that guy's light bar is really annoying. I'm not going to mount it above the windshield because it makes a lot of wind noise. So that's where you kind of learn from your friends. I would love to be able to have you guys message me and ask me questions like, what's the best lift kit for my whatever? It's like, and I have tried a lot of lift kits out there. Like, I can tell you that a solid axle lift kit is usually easier to install than an independent suspension one. But a lot of times I haven't tested every lift kit on the market. So I can't always say, well, this is the best one that's out there in the world. Pick a vehicle that you can afford. Make sure that the vehicle has a lot of aftermarket support, and then start with the type of terrain that you are comfortable with. You can always grow up from there. You can go to a bigger vehicle. You can maybe go to a smaller vehicle. You might start with a full-size 1-ton dually and realize this thing's not going to fit down the trail. Sell it and buy a Suzuki Samurai. And there's tons of aftermarket support for both of those vehicles. It's just a matter of what type of off-roading do you want to do. So pick the size tire that you like. A lot of that starts out with personal preference of what the vehicle looks like, but you'll also notice that when you go four-wheeling, having the biggest tire isn't always the best tire. Sometimes you need something that's a well-balanced between how much power do you have under the hood, how much gearing do you have in the transmission and transfer case, and how strong are your axles. I think this type of truck is a great starting point. There's a lot of great starting vehicles out there. The Jeep XJ is a huge one. Toyota's mini trucks and 4Runners are great as opportunities for first vehicles. There's lots of aftermarket support for a lot of the major well-known vehicles, and that's why a lot of people start with those. I hope that answers your questions about where to start when you're building your first 4x4. That's it for Dirt Everyday Extra. Tune in next time when we talk to you about more cool stuff from out on the trail. If you need more Dirt Everyday Extra, go sign up right now.